The morning looked normal, but it hid a very real danger. He was still making his coffee like every other day. Turned on the radio, opened the sports section. His wife smiled from afar and said, "He's doing great, doctor." I thought so too. Because there were no warning signs at all. No dizziness, no headache, no facial droop, no slurred speech. Just another morning, like the hundreds before it. But just 15 minutes late, I had to call 911. His hand suddenly turned cold, his eyes froze, and when I asked, "What's your name?" he didn't answer. Not because he forgot, but because his brain had stopped receiving proper blood flow. I knew I had to act fast. Because early strokes often strike at the hour we all believe is the safest. Morning. When everything seems fine. When people think that a cup of coffee is all they need to feel awake again. But the truth is, the brain doesn't wake up with coffee, it wakes up with blood. And if the blood hasn't reached it fully, then even if you're smiling, talking, even walking like usual, your brain is still lacking oxygen every second. And that happens more often than we think, especially in those who eat breakfast late after 9 a.m. Mrs. Elaine, 69, used to have breakfast at 10 a.m. I met Mrs. Elaine during a gentle consultation at the clinic. Nothing seemed too serious. She walked well, spoke quickly, remembered her grandkids' names, even told some funny stories. But when I asked, "When do you feel the most tired during the day?" she hesitated, then answered, "Early morning, doctor. About an hour after waking up. I feel like I'm drifting. I'm not sleepy, no headache. But it's like my brain hasn't turned the lights on yet." I asked again, "What time do you eat breakfast?" She laughed, "I have a habit of waiting until 10 a.m. I drink coffee first. Then clean up, water the plants. Eat later so it tastes better." Sound familiar? Many people over 60 say the same thing. They don't feel hungry in the morning, so they delay it. But they don't realize, when the brain is left hungry too long, memory cells start running low. I gave Mrs. Elaine a test to check her morning brain blood flow. And the results made her sit in silence for a long time. The blood flow to her frontal cortex, the area for alertness and decision-making, was nearly 30% lower than needed during the first 90 minutes after waking. Not because she had a disease, but because she left her brain to fend for itself without fuel. Just like a driver trying to go another 30 miles even when the gas light is already on. What happens inside the brain before 9 a.m.? When you open your eyes in the morning, your entire body is shifting from a sleep state to a living one. But there's one organ that cannot wait long, the brain. In the first hour after waking up, the brain needs three things to function smoothly: oxygen, glucose, and steady blood flow. And all of these depend on the first meal of the day. The issue is, after a long night without food, your blood becomes thicker, your blood vessels naturally constrict, and the speed of blood flow to the brain slows down by about 15 to 20% compared to later in the day. If you refuel early, especially with a meal that includes healthy fats and slow-digesting carbs, it activates metabolic enzymes, gently thins the blood, and wakes up the brain regions responsible for memory, thinking, and emotion. But if you delay that meal until after 9 a.m., or just drink coffee to shake off the sleepiness, you're pushing your brain into an energy gap that may last until noon. In that gap, many people feel foggy, sluggish, forgetful, unable to focus, but they don't know why. It's not aging. It's the brain waiting to be fed. "I'm not hungry in the morning, so I don't eat." This is the sentence I hear most often from people over 60. "Doctor, I don't feel hungry in the morning, so I just eat later." It sounds reasonable. Why force the body to eat if it's not hungry? But the truth is, not hungry doesn't mean not needed. Especially for the brain after 60, which no longer sends strong signals like it used to. Many people don't feel hungry because they've had coffee early, which blunts the brain's real signals. The hunger hormone, ghrelin, is disrupted due to circadian rhythm issues, or simply, the brain is in a sluggish state, not a healthy one. Skipping breakfast early doesn't mean you're healthy. It might mean your brain's blood vessels no longer have the strength to ask for it. Like a child who's too quiet. Because they've gotten used to not being heard. And the sad thing is, the longer it goes on, the weaker the brain's hunger signal becomes. The less hungry, the less you eat, the longer it takes for the brain to switch on. And in the end, mornings pass by in a haze. What does a proper breakfast before 9 a.m. look like? You don't need a fancy breakfast. You just need the right timing, the right nutrients, and something easy to digest. Before 9 a.m., when the brain needs blood and gentle, steady energy, choose foods that open circulation, not spike blood sugar. Here are 3 suggestions I often give my patients: a bowl of soft cooked oats, a few walnuts, or banana slices. Slow carbs from oats and healthy fats from nuts not only soothe blood vessels but also wake up the hippocampus of memory. A slice of whole grain bread, a boiled egg, and a few avocado slices, a perfect mix of protein, healthy fat, and fiber, helps the brain stay steady for the next 3 to 4 hours. A glass of warm water, a small vitamin D pill, if you're deficient, helps blood flow smoothly, especially after a night when blood vessels slightly constrict from dehydration. You don't need to eat much. Just enough to let your brain know you're still here and you're taking care of it. Because every breakfast before 9 a.m., even just 10 minutes, is an early appointment with alertness. Mr. Frank, 74, used to have mild headaches every morning. Mr. Frank used to be a very active man. But about 6 months ago, he began experiencing mild headaches every morning. Not intense, but enough to make him uncomfortable and tired. He thought it was just a sign of aging, or maybe stress from work. But when I asked about his breakfast habits, he shared that he often skipped it or ate very late. After 10 a.m. I suggested he try a small change: eat breakfast before 9 a.m., with light foods rich in fiber and healthy fats. Within just 2 weeks, he began noticing a clear difference. "Doctor, I feel more alert from the moment I wake up, and those mild headaches have gradually disappeared," he said. It wasn't a miracle. It was the effect of giving the brain enough energy at the right time, helping the blood flow better and delivering nutrients when they're most needed. Now, Mr. Frank no longer dreads the mornings. He can start each day full of vitality, and that's the simple gift of a well-timed breakfast. If it's too late, the brain can silently catch fire. Many people think eating breakfast late is just a habit, or simply not that important. But the truth is different. Your brain is the organ that consumes the most energy in your body, and it needs to be refueled consistently, especially after a long night. If you leave your brain hungry for too long, the flow of oxygen and glucose-rich blood gets interrupted, increasing the risk of forming tiny, silent ischemic spots in the brain. These are the root causes of many strokes that many people never notice. They don't cause pain, don't make you lose consciousness, but they leave behind silent damage, with long-term impact on memory and thinking ability. Especially for those over 60, the ability to recover from even small injuries becomes weaker. So eating breakfast on time isn't just a good habit, it's a way to protect the brain from invisible harm. Don't let your brain silently burn just because of one small habit. Eating breakfast on time's how you give your brain the daily protection it needs. 3 common breakfast mistakes. Many people over 60 often make mistakes at breakfast that leave the brain underfueled. Mistake 1, only drinking coffee. Many believe coffee alone can help them feel alert. But coffee only gives a temporary nervous system boost, not the essential energy the brain truly needs. It's like trying to drive on an almost empty tank. Mistake, eating pastries or cookies. Pastries and cookies are packed with fast sugars and empty carbs, causing your blood sugar to spike, then crash. Brain blood flow becomes unstable, leaving you tired and sluggish not long after. Mistake 3. Eating too late after feeling dizzy. If you're already lightheaded or dizzy, a late breakfast is like pumping gas into a car that's already stalled. You've already let your brain suffer some damage. To keep your brain alert and healthy, avoid these mistakes. Start with a light breakfast, rich in fiber and healthy fats, on time and the right way. When you begin feeding your brain on schedule, not only does your physical energy improve, but alertness in every nerve cell begins to awaken, too. However, change doesn't happen overnight. It takes a gentle and consistent routine to fully start up the brain each day. So how can you begin a realistic, easy-to-maintain routine? Let's walk through the plan together. 5-day routine to restart your brain with breakfast before 9 a.m. If you've ever felt tired or foggy each morning, try this 5-day routine to help your brain restart the right way. Days 1 to 2, even if you're not hungry, try to eat something light around 8 a.m. A small bowl of oatmeal, a few banana slices, or walnuts can give you gentle energy. Even without hunger, this is a kickstart for your blood vessels and brain. Days 3 to 4, add some light protein, like a boiled egg or a small piece of cheese. Protein helps maintain alertness and keeps blood sugar steady longer. You'll likely feel sharper by midday and afternoon. Day 5, write a short note in a journal or on your phone. How alert did I feel today? Tracking your awareness helps you notice progress and stay motivated. Repeat this habit daily for just 5 days. You'll begin to feel your brain slowly light up, and your spirit will brighten too. When you stay committed to this path, your brain doesn't just recover little by little, but alertness becomes a new habit. And sometimes, one small change can open up an entirely new chapter in life. Mrs. Rachel, Texas, and the reflection that changed Mrs. Rachel, 72, was a former elementary school teacher in Texas. One morning, she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. My face that morning looked like a stranger, she recalled. Blurred eyes, pale skin, and a heavy mood. She once thought it was just aging, something inevitable. But after shifting her breakfast time to before 9 a.m., and sticking to a proper eating routine, everything began to change. After about 2 weeks, Mrs. Rachel noticed a light returning to her eyes, and more importantly, to her mind. She felt more awake, more cheerful, and more alive. The reflection in the mirror didn't just change on the outside. It was the revival of a soul, she shared. Mrs. Rachel's story is a living reminder that a small change in a morning habit can create something close to a miracle. No one is ever too late to start again with an on-time breakfast. No one is too old to change. Each new day is a chance to renew yourself, and an on-time breakfast is the first step toward that change. Even if you're used to eating late or skipping meals, believe that you can begin again, starting today. Not to keep up with anyone else, but for yourself, for a clear mind, and a bright, refreshed spirit. Every morning is a new door. That's the message I want to leave with you. Don't let your brain open that door too late, because by then, many chances and moments of life may already pass by. You deserve care from the one person who matters most, yourself. And eating breakfast before 9 a.m. is a promise of clarity to yourself. Having breakfast before 9 a.m. isn't just a habit. It's a promise you make to yourself, a promise of clarity, of a day full of energy and clear thinking. Just 15 minutes for your brain each morning, with a light, nourishing, well-timed meal, and you're giving your brain the most precious care it can receive. No need for fancy meals, no need for complexity. Just consistency and listening to your body, and you'll begin to notice the difference in every alert moment. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. There's a growing community of older adults choosing health, walking alongside you and inspiring one another. If you've watched this far and feel this message speaks to you, leave a simple comment: I choose clarity. That will be your declaration of beginning the journey to care for your brain, and a gentle message to loved ones who also need that same clarity. One small change from you can shine light on your entire family and friends. Together, we build a strong community, where everyone is supported to live healthier and more mentally vibrant each day. Thank you for taking the time to listen and to trust. Let's choose clarity every morning, every day.